welcome you here, and we will begin by asking Dan Fisher to offer a opening prayer for us.
Our Father in heaven, we're thankful for the opportunity we have to meet together this evening as City Council for the great city of Montpelier, and thankful for the opportunity we have to serve in this capacity. And we ask you to please bless us this night, evening, as we make decisions that they're done so in the best interest of the city of Montpelier and for the citizens therein, and that thy Spirit will be with us. And please bless us this evening that we can do what's right and we can have our tempers under control, and we love thee and say these things in Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We took it out of the bill. So it's
Okay, we want to
probably not.
introduce, I think this is Patience Bamey's first city council meeting. She works for the News Examiner. And it's good to have
Spelled in
you.
for Judy today.
Okay,
Because she's pretty sick, so.
okay. Well, it's good to have you with us,
It's
Patience.
our neighbors that haven't moved in yet, right?
We moved in
You did?
2 days
Awesome.
ago.
All right.
Okay, we've got the agenda before you. We need a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second it.
Did you get that? Kurt? Yeah, you've got Kurt and Dan made the motion. I'll try to repeat those for you, Heather. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, approval of the minutes.
I would move to approve the minutes of March 6th, 2013.
Have a second, seconded by Mike.
I do have little change.
Okay,
At the bottom of the first page, under the McKinney Adams Benzie, right at the end of that, you need to add to the last sentence, from a sales tax. You could also use the Idaho State Tax Commission to make the distributions to the city from a sales tax. It wouldn't apply to any of those others.
okay. Any other changes? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you. Approval of the bills.
Make a motion to approve the bills of $43,336.38, of which $30,290.84 is payroll, and $13,045.54 is other bills.
I'll second it.
Did you get that, Heather? Okay, any discussion on that motion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you. Okay, we have Kathy Ray with us tonight, and Kathy is our regional economic development person. She represents 4 counties, and anyway, she has a proposal that she's going to present to us tonight. So, Kathy?
Well, thank you for giving me a few minutes of your time. I'm going to pass out. I think I have it after. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I am, as Mayor noted, I am the Regional Economic Development Specialist, and I work with economic development specialists in the whole region. In other words, all the way up to Chalice, and then over to Power County, which is American Falls, into Rexburg, and in Bannock County, and down to the 4 counties here, which is Oneida County, Franklin County, Bear Lake County, and Sherwood. We've got together, a group of us, there's 7 of us, 7 counties that have got together economic development professionals for those 7 counties, and we've been introduced to a program called the Executive Pulse, a software program that helps with business retention. In other words, it's a software program that we can implement as economic development professionals into each of our counties, and we will interview each of our businesses. What we're looking for is to identify supply chains that we can link together so that if, let's say, there's 2 or 3 companies within the region that purchase a similar product or make a similar product, but yet they get it from different resources outside of the region. And what we're trying to do is find those linkages that have not, those similarities that have not been linked together, so that we can look at, well, if we are getting enough demand for this product, is it being developed or is it being made within our region? If it is, who is making it, and can they supply it to these other entities within our region that are demanding this product instead of shipping it in from like back east or from another company? That's the main focus of this. The other thing is to recognize any workforce trends that are emerging or any issues that are emerging with the business climate, such as legislation that's coming down or economic impacts from outside of the region that are going to possibly come in. Things like mining, things that hurt the mining industry or the agricultural industry that we can be aware of. And that's basically the gist of doing this connection point. And this software allows us to be able, each of us economic development specialists, be able to go into each of our communities, interview our businesses, and this is all the way from retail to manufacturing to ag businesses, and to put into the software program under our proprietary information. In other words, it's just going to be like the information I put in will just be for my 4 counties. And nobody else in the region can access that information on who's, what they're purchasing and who they're purchasing from. But the software, what it does, will start linking these similarities so that Kristen Jensen in American Falls, let's say she has a company that's purchasing 20 widgets. And we have a company here in Bear Lake that's purchasing maybe 10 of those widgets. Pocatello, maybe there's 50 of those widgets being purchased. But the software will link those up and then let us know where those links are at so that we can identify those links, identify that widget, and then look for sources within our own region that create that widget or can possibly develop what they already have to create that widget because there's enough demand. In other words, Chris and Jensen would be able to go in and see what all of my businesses purchase or what they make, unless there's a link made. And then just that specific information is linked. That way we keep the information totally proprietary, and we're not worried about sending out information and that the competitor can get hold of and disrupt some issues with the businesses. So what we're looking for is we teamed together with Bannock Development, Power County, Bingham County, and then our 4 counties, the economic development professionals, and we are trying to submit a grant. Well, we're submitting 2 grants, one to the GEM grant in June to the Idaho Commerce Department, and then the second grant to USDA, and hopefully that will come open in April. They're kind of waiting to see what happens with the budget issue on the federal side. And if you can go back to the one that's talked about the Executive Pulse software business, this one here, this will explain the grant. And you can go through there and read that, but if you go to page 3, it talks about the budget there. And what it is we're not asking for any money from the city or the counties on this. We're going to actually take it out of our budget that each of the economic development professionals already have. And so the initial contact or the initial contract to purchase the use of the software is $18,000 for our whole region. And there's an annual fee of $2,700 that we will split between these entities, which is 4-County Alliance, which is my alliance, Howard County, Bingham County, and Bannock County. And you can see the breakdown. This is what it would cost them for the next, well, it's actually a 4-year project. So out of my program, I'm going to take $1,500 over the next 4 years to go into that program. And I'm not asking that for the city. But what I need from the city, because the only way I can submit this grant is it has to come through a city or a county. And Bear Lake County is already doing another grant for me because we're going to do an economic impact study for the whole Bear Lake region because of the Paris Hills mine. And so this is actually a natural fit for Montpelier City to come in and sponsor this grant. I will administer it, and Amy will help on this project for the businesses in the Montpelier area. And it will take us anticipate about a whole year to actually gather all of the information and get it into the software program. And that will take me a whole year to cover all 4 counties. And we'll probably, with the economic impact study that we're going to do, ISU students are going to do that study. And so what I'll do is use them also to help gather some of this information as they're out visiting and mapping the businesses in the area already. So what I'm asking for is for approval for the city to sponsor this grant, knowing that there's no cost out of pocket for you guys. I'm not asking for any money. I'm just asking you to sponsor the grant because I'm under your jurisdiction, and I need a city to do that. The anticipated results on this is we anticipate being able to expand our current business base throughout the region, identify any gaps in services or gaps in supplies that are being purchased outside of the region that could be purchased within the region or manufactured within the region, and to identify any workforce trends that we need to address with ISU or Utah State or whatever, and for any trainings that are coming up or positions that we see, or technological advancements that require specific trainings for them. Are there any questions?
I'm just wondering about, are large companies that participate in this, have you approached any,
Yes.
Monsanto?
Well, the thing with Agrim and Monsanto, they will participate just because, especially Monsanto, they like to work with the local businesses as much as they can. And so we're even looking at Monsanto and Simplot, because Simplot, is a big deal in Pocatello and in Howard County. And so we are looking at all size companies, from the cottage industry, which is the person doing it out of the garage, from the farmer who's creating a product, doing some type of value-added product, or it's purchasing if there's a similar purchase by a lot of the farmers within the region. And so we're going to hit everybody. They do not have to participate. We can't, force this over their head. But I think if they don't participate at first because they're worried about proprietary information, I think as they start to see the results and stuff like this, and we'll keep this information out there in the papers and in the media on what we're doing and why we're doing it, and we'll work with the chambers and any other economic development organizations, planning and zoning areas as well on that.
Because we've had a discussion about if all goes well with the mine, trying to get local companies and local groups to supply some of what they need. And so, this looks like an obvious way to do that. So we're kind of stumped about how we could do that effectively.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is actually part of the, one arm of the phase that we're working on the doing the economic impact study that we're going to have the ISU students do this fall. They're going to map all your businesses in the region, all the way to Garden City and Lake Town, all of this whole Bear Lake region. They're going to map all of the businesses to see what they create, what their capabilities are. Because it's not just for the people, not just for the mine itself, but it's for the 350 workforce that's coming in. Some of it will come from this area already, but you'll be bringing in other workforce, and not only with the worker, but you'll be bringing in young families, kids, just a variety of different people needing different services and stuff like that. And so we'll be able to, with this product, with this software, as well as economic impact study, we'll be able to identify any gaps of stuff, of products or services that we do not currently have within this region, and be able to try to recruit that in. But our main focus, again, is the retention and the expansion of what we already have. You know, we don't want to go out and bring in a big company. We're looking to help the regular businesses that are already existing within the community first. That's our first priority.
You can handle this on top of what you're already doing.
Most of this will be done by Kathy.
Yeah, I'm really sure you're on this one. Amy's gonna help a lot with, you know, with her connections and some of her other work. But, and this grant proposal right here is just the basic grant proposal. There'll probably be some changes. I've already sent it, the narrative forward to the USDA to see what else they want with it. We're already gathering support letters from small business owners, which we have to supply with this grant to, as we submit it when the grant is open. So if you see any grammatical errors or whatever, like I said, this is still just the basic footprint of the grant, the basic gist of the grant. So.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, thank you, Kathy. Thanks for making the trip over.
Okay, well, I just need to know if you'll approve.
It's on the agenda for action, so we'll ask for a motion now, so.
Okay, what I will do is I will leave this with you. This is the first cover page on that. You'll need to sign those two. Let's see, I'll need to get that information from you. But if you'll just sign there, and then there'll probably be a couple more forms that will need to be signed. But
Okay.
I'll leave that with you.
Do you want that done tonight, or do you want, have to do this later? Or?
You can do it later.
Let's do that. Okay. You want to hand those to Amy?
You bet.
Okay, thank you, Kathy.
You're welcome.
Okay, we'll entertain a motion for us to proceed as the sponsoring entity for this grant. Come on in, guys. Thank you.
What's it called? The Four County Alliance of Southeast Idaho? Is that how
Yeah.
you'd put it?
Uh-huh.
Well, I'll make a motion that we be the sponsoring entity for the Four County Alliance of Southeast Idaho Economic Development.
I'll second it.
Okay, should get that. Okay, thanks, Heather. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So thank you, and thank you, Kathy.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
We appreciate all your good work. You and Amy the good. Okay, our next item is the golf contract, and we've got Matt here, and Adam is basically, you want to lead out on that, Adam?
Actually, well, I would say let's let Matt, and he can present what he's going to present, and then we'll discuss it as we need to.
Okay.
Okay. I just change of the terms of the contract, just the length of the contract, as far as I was concerned. I don't know if we address the issue of the maintenance access through the driving range in that.
I think that can,
Okay, yeah, so it was just basically just the term of the contract, the length of the contract, and that's pretty much it on my end, I think.
Yeah. So it's basically the same contract that has
Mhm.
existed, that existed last year, except we're going for 15 years.
Mhm.
Okay.
What was it before?
It was a 4-year contract. And the verbiage, I mean, the verbiage of the contract before, it automatically renews every year. I mean, so it's, I mean,
So basically, what we're proposing is to change the term of the contract from 4 years to 15. And all other terms of the contract would remain the same.
And just to let you know, Matt has reviewed this contract. Don Toomer has reviewed the contract because it affects his area, and everybody's fine with the way that it is, so.
Are you okay with it, John?
Okay, we will entertain a motion on the golf contract.
I'll make the motion we accept the contract.
And I'll second it.
Kurt seconded, Mike made the motion. Okay, any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you. And thank you, Matt, it's good to have you.
See you out of hibernation.
Wanting you to stay around for a while, so that's a good
Your
thing.
wife says you're shoveling a lot.
I try not to. I think she's making me look better than I am.
Okay, we have Mr. Tusher, Gary, and his son James with us tonight, and they've completed our audit, and I think you all have a copy of that in your packet. And so, Gary,
Yep.
have at it.
We have extra copies here if you want. If you want these, if you want to look at that.
We need some for the file here, and so,
What we got?
okay.
We'll leave your work at this way.
Thank you.
This is the audit dated
Oh, wait a minute.
September 30th, 2012. Page 1, which is the audit report. Says I have audited the accompanying financial statements of the governmental activities, the business type activities, each major fund, and the aggregate remaining fund information of the city of Montpelier, Idaho, as of before the year ended September 30th, 2012, which collectively comprise the city's basic financial statements as listed in the table of contents. These financial statements are the responsibility of city management. My responsibility is to express an opinion on these financial statements based on my audit. The next paragraph talks about how we conduct the audit under government auditing standards and standards that are approved by the United States Comptroller General. And my last sentence in that says, I believe my audit provides a reasonable basis for my opinion, and in my opinion, the third paragraph, the financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects the respective financial position of the governmental activities, business type activities. Might just tell you what the business type activities are: the water and sewer. The governmental activities are all the other funds, the general fund, recreation fund, the cemetery fund, and the streetlight fund. The business type activities, each major fund, the major fund basically is the water, sewer, and the general fund. And the aggregate remaining fund information of the city of Montpelier, Idaho, as of September 30th, 2012, and the respective changes in financial positions and cash flows were applicable for the year ended in conformity with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States of America. The cash flow statements are basically just for water and sewer. And then in the next paragraph, we talk about a report that we do, and it's the very last letter of the report in the book. And the last paragraph talks about the management discussion and analysis, which is yours, and we work on that with you, put that together, and then we do a combining of the three funds, the water, smaller funds that we have to combine, the recreation, street lighting, cemetery fund, which in the back. And that talks about that. And we do work on those, but we don't express an opinion on them separately. You might turn to page 4. This is a 3-year comparison. Shows the governmental activities on the top and the business type activities on the bottom. So the government activities are all the general fund and all those other little funds. The business type down below are water and sewer. Shows current assets in 2012 of 86,000. Last year it was 29,000 in negative, and mainly because the general fund was way overdrawn. But this year you came up quite a bit. Capital assets, they're different. They go down each year because of, unless you add a lot of capital assets, depreciation takes a big toll. That takes them down. Current liabilities, you've noticed it's pretty close, 45, 49, 30. And non-current liabilities, 34, 46, and 60. That's those loans, and they're going down as you pay them off. One is a lease on the lost street lights, and the other is a
Loader.
loader. Yeah, and it's going down. So those are, they have reference in the back. If you look down on the water and sewer, current assets of 408, 410, and 287. So they fluctuate, and then capital assets, they go down, but they've remained kind of constant because you've added different things into them. Current liabilities, pretty much the same. Non-current liabilities, almost the same, going down there again by payment of debt. So that's that. If you take the next page, and that's the balance sheets for those 3 years. Program revenues for the government. Now these will tie in right into the GASB 34 statements. Charges for services, you notice the 3 years, right around 188 to 200,000. Operating grants, they fluctuate, but last year there was 561,000 compared to 433 and 415. Property tax has gone up each year, and the property tax is all in the governmental funds. No property tax goes down in the water and sewer. So you notice that the property tax went from 513 to 531 into 554. Other taxes, pretty much constant at around 140,000, and then other income of right around $40,000. Total revenue, 2012, $1,496,000 in the governmental funds, $1,003,000 the year before, and $1,295,000 the year before that. Expenses, and you'll see there that there's general government, public safety, streets and roads, and culture and recreation. Public safety is fire and police, and streets and roads are evident. Everything else is culture and recreation. So that's the cemetery. I don't know how that gets to be culture and recreation. That's where it goes. And recreation fund and some other things. Anyway, you'll see that $1,400,000 in expenses in 2012, $1,437,000 in 2011, $1,442,000 in 2010. So actually, expenses are down. Change in net assets from negative 146 in 2010, 109 negative in 2011, to 93 plus in 2012. And so that's how we want it to be. You know, on the end, it's gone down from 2010 up. On business activities, which is water and sewer, in 2012, 823 plus a grant of 29,000. 2011, 791, and 2010, 752 revenue. And then if you notice on the expenditures, overall, these are with depreciation in them, of course, and 894, 724, 819. So there's losses in 2 different years. Change in net assets went down. In 2011, they went up. And that worked because of the way things were done in those years. So that's an overview for the 3 years. If you want to look at the next one, long-term debt on the middle of page 6. 2012, 63,000. Each fund has so much of that, and in the water fund, or in the 2011 was 71,000, so that's gone down. If you look on the next page, these GASB 34 statements are all combined, so let's just take a look at fund balances, basically. If you go back to page, starting on page 9, you'll see that the cash in the general fund is still a negative. The BID fund has a little bit of cash in it. And the other governmental funds, basically the 3 other funds, which you'd have to go back to the back of about page 27, if you fill that up so you can take a look at it. The recreation fund has some cash in it. The street lighting fund, we've just spent it all. We borrowed money from it to pay other bills. And we've got to get this back into some, it's got to be a current. And the only way to do that is to either put money back into it or try and put a lot of property tax into it. And I don't know if we allocated enough for 2013 or not, whether you did. But that's what's going to happen because it's a negative. And the cemetery fund is positive. So when they have a negative 18,000, so cash is at a negative 49,000 on page 9. Property taxes, basically all the property taxes in the general fund, property tax receivable, and it's 47. State of Idaho, about 49,000. That's from the 3 different grants and things like that. And property, and I don't think there's any sales tax included in there. County, that's the money coming from the county, and then other things that are grants and so forth. So you have the negative. When it gets combined there, governmental funds are 86,000 positive, and for 2012 compared to 29,000 the negative last year. Liabilities and fund balance. You take the liabilities, there's 87 this year compared to 119 last year, and so when you go down the governmental funds. Fund balance, it's a negative for this governmental of 1,199. So it was a negative 149,000 the year before. So you did do quite a bit of an increase in fund balance. If you look at the next page, this is revenues. And so it goes across general fund, 132,000. You have last year's book here. Anyway, there's 1,324,000 in the general fund revenues. The BID brings in about 10,000, pays its note. Other governmental funds brought in 162,000. Just turn to page 10. And so the total is 149,000 compared to 1,497,000 compared to 1,314,000. A year ago, the general fund brought in 1,141,000. So there's like 200, almost 200,000 more in the general fund revenue. And the others are pretty close. A year ago, the general fund spent 1,153,000. This year, it spent 1,152,000. So with the increase in revenue and about the same expenditures, excess revenue in the general fund was 171,000 this year compared to a negative 12,000 last year. The other 2 funds, the BID is 9 compared to 11 the year ago, excess revenue. And then the other governmental funds, negative 32 was negative 38 the year before, so they're staying there. Mainly because we've basically the street lights and the recreation fund and cemetery funds. Cemetery is pretty much self-supporting, but the other 2 are tax supported. And we took all the property tax into the general fund to kind of get it back into shape. and robbed from them, didn't rob from them, but basically put them in a negative position. And we gotta get that, because you really shouldn't have a negative fund balance on any of these. And we have negative fund balance on recreation fund and on the streetlights. If you look on page 27, you'll see that those fund balances are negative. Even though a lot, really shouldn't have those like that. So we've got to get that taken care of in the next couple of years and get those back. But hopefully you'll be able to, even if you have to take and move some money from the general fund basically back to cover some of these other funds, because that's what you've done in the past. We've had to do that to try to keep the general fund from going under. So okay.
The street fund is the big one that we've got to deal with, right, Gary?
Which one?
The street fund, or the street lights.
Street lights, yeah, street
Yeah,
lights.
we're 31,000.
Yeah, see, and basically, that, if you look on the next page, it's a sideways page, it's a little hard to look at, but you notice that general property tax, we allocated 17 and $1,000 of sales tax from the budget. We received almost that much, but we budgeted for 32,000, so a negative 14. Had negative 17, and we already had negative fund balance at the beginning of the year, so we've got to, this has got to change. The recreation fund is not too bad. It's got a negative fund balance ending, but it's coming. It was fund balance the year before. Well, it was budgeted for 707, but it had a negative, had a positive, but it had a loss this year. And one of the reasons for that.
You want to differentiate, Gary, between, well, maybe you'll get to it further in your discussion, but from the recreation fund versus the Parks and Rec fund.
Okay, Parks and
They're two
Rec.
separate funds.
Yeah, Parks and Rec, if you come back to page 10, Parks and Rec, or Parks Department is right here on the, down under the fire, there's the administrative, street, police, fire department, and Parks Department. And it's 39,000. Let me just take you to a budget to actual on page 25. The Parks Department was supposed to spend 48,000. They spent 39,000, and there was 8,000 to the good actually. So the Parks Department is in the general fund, and if you go down this list. The only ones that are under, you go down, administrative's okay, street department was 222,000 budget, but we spent 197, so they're good. Police department was spent less 30,000, but when it came to the golf course, we spent $24,000 more than budgeted. And so it is, and then it didn't bring in that much. It brought in about 20-some thousand, but we spent 41 on some this year, trying to get some of the repairs made.
Right.
And then grants, was going to spend 110, we spent 159. But on grants, we budgeted to bring in 221, and we brought in 278,000. So it all depends on how things move. The big problems is, it's not the revenue. We actually brought in $119,000 more revenue than we budgeted. We budgeted to spend $2,205,000. We spent $1,152,000, so you're 53 to the good, actually, on the whole general fund. Just a couple of departments that were sitting there, and they could have been remedied, I guess, if we went in and changed the budget, owned it, and done. But that line item like that, that's what happened. Any other questions you might have? Oh, so we got to go to water and sewer. Though. Let's go to water and sewer. I think that's pretty much the general fund, the government funds. On the water and sewer, if you look on page 12, now these are here, and we don't do a budget to action on them, but at the end of 2012, 9/30, there was $297,000 of cash in the sewer fund. 42,000 in the water fund. The water fund is working its way back. All those years, the cash, it just took everything to do the repairs that you did do. And now it's starting to come back a little bit. The sewer fund, 297. Let me just grab this before. Sewer fund, the water fund went from 10,000 to 42,000. The sewer fund went down from 333 to 297. But you bought a bunch of things to put into the, start doing the sewer, and plus a lot of the work on that sewer, that were done from the sewer. Receivables, they were 66,000 in 2011 between the two funds, and they're 68,000 this year. So that's not too good. Even though prices went up, costs went up, now they're going up more, but the accounts receivable was about the same. Capital assets there again, this is a matter of additions and subtractions. There was $1,200,000 total in 2011, was 2,359,000. This year, 2,329,000. So it went down 30,000, basically because there's a lot of depreciation. We'll see on the next page. Accounts payable, pretty much the same. Not much change. Accrued interest payable, that's just, it goes down each year a little bit. Note payable, it was 47 the year before, 42,000 this year. So when you got all done at the bottom, there's net assets for both funds, 2,666,000 compared to 2,708,000 the year before. So basically that's depreciation taken down. If you look at the next page, the sewer fund brought in 361,000 this year. It brought in 365 the year before, but there was a number of hook-ons the year before. This year there weren't very good. The water fund, you raised the rate. They brought in 461,000 compared to 425 the year before. Expenses, the sewer fund spent 402,000, of which 18,000 was depreciation. So compared to 284 the year before. The water fund spent 490,000, 68,000 in depreciation compared to 438 the year before. So they both came up with net operating losses. Operating income was at a loss. There was grant revenue in the sewer for some sewer study fund. Brought it so that there was 12,000 loss there, 29,000 loss on the water fund. So that's where it's there. Now, that's a count. I mean, try to say what it is. The next fund is the cash flow is on the next page. And if you take a look at the two of them, you'll see a difference. One is accounting with accounts payable, accounts receivable. This other is straight cash, on page 14. You notice that brought in 359,000 compared to 461. The water fund almost brought in the same amount of cash as the accounts accrual. That's what I'm trying to say. Accrual account. You spent 143 and 226. So basically, the sewer fund provided cash of 26,000 negative. The water fund 56,000 positive. Then there's some capital outlay in each fund, principal paid, and so forth. So when you get that down to the bottom, net increase in cash and cash equivalents. The sewer fund went down 35,000. The water fund went up 31,000. And that's what it would look like in the future. I think the water fund will continue to grow. The sewer fund, now you're charging more. It'll start to grow until you start doing all the work, and then it'll. But that's just the way it's going to be to get there. But the water fund is on track to start to grow somewhere like around 30,000 a year, hopefully, unless you have major expenditures. Okay, that's pretty quick. Just take a look at the footnotes. Let's see. Some late night reading there if you want to. You need to count sheet. Read that. If you look on page 20, it shows the assets and depreciation. See, the general fund regularly doesn't have depreciation in it in the fund statements, but the GASB 34 statements do, so we have to add it back into there. And if you look down there, you can see the various departments where we put depreciation. 65,000 in general fund this year,
21,000 the BID fund, and the other government fund's about 6,500. So that depreciation gets added to those GASB 34 statements from their reconciling items from the regular fund statements. The next page shows the water and sewer additions, operation and taxes. Taxes at the end of the last year, there was 48,000 at the end of 2011, accounts receivable from taxes. There's 44,000 at the end of this year. So people are paying their taxes, property taxes. The last page, page 22, is shows the money. 250,000 insured deposits, uninsured 14,000. For the banks, it's 51,000, and then there's CDs and a state pool, and that makes the cash 291,000 cash at the end of the year for the total city. And if you look on the next page, 23, this is the debt. The general fund, basically, the business improvement district, it's going down, it's getting paid off, it's about paid off. I think you make this one more payment, you should do it. It would have been, it didn't quite make a full payment this last year. So it would be pretty much equal, but there's like one more payment left and that's paid off. And hopefully that'll be enough cash to do that. And then the long-term debt is between general fund, sewer fund, and water fund, and that's on that loader. Still owe $63,000 on that. And there's two more payments. There's a payment in 2000. 2014, the payment is bigger, and I'm not sure why this was like that, but anyway, it pays off in 2014.
Yeah.
It'll all be paid off. Trying to figure out why that was. Anyway. Okay, that's pretty fast overview, but I've taken a lot of time. I could speak for another couple of hours if you want, but I don't want me to. The last letter in the back talks about internal control. Your internal control, as far as we can tell, everything is okay. There's some, we have to write a letter, and in the letter we basically said you need to continue doing what you've done in the past. Need to continue monthly reviews. You're getting better with the reporting, but you need to get, and hopefully you should be getting, but if you don't, a budget report every month, showing budget to actual and all those things. Need to go over those. And need to do, and I told her that budget to actual works sort of like an income statement. Basically, you need to have that so you know where you are, balance sheet, and go through that, and need to keep a part of the budget. It looks like it goes over. But the problem is when you can look at the budget, and then we come in and we do accounts payable, and we can destroy your budget work because the accounts payable go in at the end, and maybe if there's something in there that's big, it'll throw the budget over. So, but basically, I think you're on track. You're doing a lot better. The books are a lot better. You still have to convert them from your books to get them into all the depreciation and everything in there. So it takes some work, but we take your numbers, put them in, program, and then make all the adjustments and go forward. We don't really have you book the adjustments. You could on some of them, but basically there are some that she should book. And we'll get those to her and have her book them as we used last year with your approval. And so I think she's looked at them, and I think there should be no problem. The other thing, and that's this letter we give you, and we have a statement here for our work, and we have two letters here. One is for the copy for the city, one copy for send back to us, which is called a management rep letter. Basically says that, as far as you know, that you've given us everything we've asked for, no problems, that you own all the assets, you're responsible for them, and the way they're going. And so they're there to be signed. Usually two people sign them, and I would suspect that you want your attorney to look at them And you'd want to peruse them and then give them back to us. Once you do that, then we will, and you approve the audit, we will send an email copy along with the letter, our letter, and a copy of your response to that letter to the state for, put you in compliance. Do you know whether street report's been done? I did.
I was just gonna get to that question.
I didn't call to ask today. We were busy doing, but if it isn't done, we will get it ready for you in the next, from these numbers, right? We can get it in that.
Okay, I think, John, that'd be a good activity for you to, this is John right here, Gary.
Okay.
He's the new Don, even though Don is still here.
John and Don. Okay.
Yeah, anyway, Don is gone for the week, but I think that would be a good activity for you to get together and do that. And I am not so sure that we wouldn't have our street department take that function over. We can talk about that.
Well, the problem
late.
is, once we get the final numbers, then it's easier to do.
Okay.
And we're kind of slow getting the final numbers, but we ought to have it done. It's supposed to be done by the end of the year.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. We're late with that report, and it needs to be done by the first of the year, and so we need to.
Because they withhold funding until you
Right.
get it to them.
Yeah.
But once you get it to them, they'll send you.
That's exactly right. And we want the street money. So anyway,
Go sideways.
yeah, why don't you go ahead and prepare that?
We'll get it prepared, and
Leslie's-
maybe we get you to come down to the office and show us how we do it.
I think,
We'll work with you. We'll get, tomorrow we'll find out what your number is, so we get home.
okay, all right.
Anything else?
Any other questions? Now, usually what we do is we'll look over this and study it, and if we have any questions, we can call down to Mr. Tusher's office, and then we'll approve that in our, approve the audit in our next meeting, is usually what we do. Have it an action item and so forth.
But we can do the street report without it. We have the numbers.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyway, appreciate your work, and we'll look forward to working with you next year, so.
Yes, clerk. That's the two letters.
Okay, let me hand that to you.
Oh, you guys got to stay for the rest of the meeting. What's this cutting out early?
It's somebody's birthday today, Gary.
I know I'm gonna take her.
It's his wife's birthday. Yeah. Okay, please, as you look through those and study them, if you have any questions, Leslie's to training in Boise this week. Lots of times Leslie can answer those, but Gary's available, and between him and his two children, they can answer those questions for you. So we've got some extra copies of the audit that were handed out today. We'll make sure that our department heads get those. And I noticed Patience kind of looking, so Patience, we can get you a copy of that audit too. But we have not officially approved it yet. So,
Don't we have two here? One was given and we got this.
yeah, so we got
So
some
here's
extras.
extras.
So, yeah. John, why don't you grab one? Russ?
Didn't say grab, yeah.
Why don't, Heather, you've got one back there, don't you?
Yeah.
And let's make sure that, did you get one, Amy? Okay, Amy and Steve have got one, and let's make sure the newspaper gets one. We've got an extra one there. Let's
We're
hand
throwing
it.
them all around.
I don't know that we should do that until we approve it.
Okay.
We should-
That's correct.
We distribute them to the department heads, but they shouldn't go out to the public.
That's
Okay.
correct.
You're right. Okay,
That's correct.
so
Yeah,
you'll
we
get
should.
yours, Heather. Or I mean,
It'll be Judy who will cover that.
okay, all right. Okay, thank you. Okay, our next item on the,
No, we've done.
go ahead.
Just one comment, when we were looking at revenues for the government activities,
Mhm.
and they appear to be up,
What page, John Martin?
it's page 5, at the top. And we're looking at almost $1.5 million versus $1,327,000. last year,
Mhm.
but most of that was grants.
Right.
So, you know, we didn't significantly increase revenue within the city. It was mostly the grant
Grants.
money that made that difference for us. I
Right.
think that's important to realize. If you just look at it without looking at that, then it looks like it's, you know, relatively huge
Right.
money out of the city.
Yeah. Thanks for pointing that out, Mark. Okay, and then one thing I would point out that as you look like on the sewer system where we were negative 41,000, I want you to remember that we appropriated some money that was in that fund for an additional sewer study, all that scoping. And so that's what made that fund go $41,000. The biggest share of it was for that sewer study. So anyway, just once again, if you've got any questions, Gary's a great resource and he'll spend some time with you explaining anything that you want to. And he's always been available for me. And then Leslie is very versed and oftentimes she can answer any questions that you might have. Okay, our next item on the agenda is the planning and zoning appointment. I wanted to explain to everyone how that works. We have an opening on the Planning and Zoning Commission. Under the previous chairman, we had a list of people that the Planning and Zoning Commission would recommend for appointment. And we still have some people on that list, but we have a new chairman now, Byron Nelson. And so rather than make that appointment, if you hear anything about making that appointment, rather than making that appointment tonight, we will get a recommendation of people from the Planning and Zoning Commission. I just put that on the agenda because I wanted to explain to everybody how that appointment takes place. By state law, the Planning and Zoning Commission recommends people to the Planning and Zoning Commission, to the council. Oftentimes, I will bring those recommended people in and we'll have a visit and refer them to the Association of Idaho Cities website where they can read a whole bunch of things about planning and zoning and see if they really want to do this. So anyway, just in that vein, we appreciate our Planning and Zoning Commission and the work that they do. They don't get paid, and oftentimes they spend an awful lot of time in the service of their community. So appreciate them and what they're doing. Acceptance of grants. Amy, do you want to come up? And I think in your packet towards the back was a list of these, so they would have they would look like this. Everybody, okay. Amy, go ahead.
The first two I'll do pretty quick because it's not been that long since we approved the applications of those. These are the enforcing underage drinking laws grants. On both of these, we were awarded the full amount we applied for. $7,500 for the police department to do their juvenile alcohol shifts where they can go out and target underage drinking. Those are all overtime grants. And then $3,000 for Enough is Enough for their T&D class. And those will both basically operate the same way they did last year. These ones are getting to be pretty standard. These are I think the fourth time for one and the fifth for the other that we've done these.
So that we need a motion to accept those grants.
Do you want to do each one separately? We're probably going to do each one separately.
Yeah, and then you've got another one that you've applied for.
Correct.
Okay. So let's do each one separately.
I would move to apply to accept the grant for enforcement of underage drinking laws for the police department in the amount of $7,500.
Second, Martin moved and Marty seconded. Any discussion on the motion?
That's all goes to overtime in the police department. So when we do that, we take consideration of like vehicle maintenance and that's gonna use, does that pay for that too? I mean, or does it just go to wages?
It just goes to wages.
Just wages.
So when we do that, then we're, okay, so it is costing us some then on fuel and vehicle maintenance and.
I don't That's a good question. I don't know if we've ever broke that out, have we, Chief?
It's for salary only, but there is an expense for fuel and vehicle use.
Okay, how about benefits on the salary?
It covers the benefits.
Covers.
Well, another way I've always kind of looked at that, it does cost someone equipment and so forth, but a lot of that work we have to do anyway. And this pays for that instead of us having to take money out to pay overtime or something, so nothing is free, but this helps.
One thing to note on that too, as well as just driving around looking for parties, they have allocated some of this funding to go out and do compliance checks where they've had some youth go in and make sure they're checking for IDs and those sorts of things. So it's not all this the driving around patrol type. Thanks, Andy.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, it's been moved and seconded on the $7,500 grant. All in favor?
Right.
Anyone opposed? Thank you.
I would move that we accept the grant for enforcing underage drinking laws. Enough for use to be in classes.
Okay, seconded by Marty. Any discussion on that one? Okay, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Thank you.
Okay, the last one is a new grant program that's out there. This is the only the second year they're doing this grant program. And these are state funds that come through ITD, and they're putting these funds out there to try to help cities become compliant with the ADA accessibility requirements on state highways. So, and that's just for doing curb ramps and correcting the places where they, there's a ramp instead of having to have a step up. And we're allowed to apply for up to $60,000 for that project. There's no match required on that. We will go ahead and, as we put together the application, we'll get kind of an estimate so we know how many curb ramps we think we can do with that amount of money. Don thinks we can get probably most of the rest of Washington Street fixed. They have a whole matrix that they set out, and it lists every curb ramp in the whole town and prioritizes them all high, medium, and low. And we think we can get all of the high ones on Main Street done, and maybe a couple of on 4th Street as well. And they give you points for connecting to what you already have, so that's why we would do Main Street first, because it connects with where they're already good downtown, where it was done with the BID. And visiting with Dawn, we think we'll probably look at just contracting that work out rather than having our guys do that work. We could probably stretch the dollars further if the guys did that work, but the funds are available right during the time that they're going to be doing the sewer project, and he didn't know that we would have the resources to be heavily involved with both. So that's kind of what we're looking to do on that one. And construction, the funds would be available starting July 2014. And then you have a year to get it done until June of 2015. So
it's a year before we start.
It's this time to put everything together. Maybe have any questions on that one?
Okay, basically what Amy is looking for here is permission to proceed with this grant. So we need a motion to proceed.
Why do we have to wait till 2014?
That's just how their funding cycle works.
What?
That's how ITD works.
Yeah, ITD plans things way in advance.
Just like that road going out south of town here. It was they talked about it 2 years ago.
That's
They
true.
started doing it in 2014.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I would move that we authorize Amy to apply for the Idaho Americans with Disability Act pedestrian curb ramp program in the amount of $60,000.
I'll second it.
Okay, seconded by Mr. Pugmire, moved by Mr. Phelps. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
All right.
Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you, Amy.
Just one other grant mention. We did not apply for these through the city, but just mention, Kathy talked a little bit more earlier about the economic impact study. And I just wanted to make the council aware that Zions Bank is contributing $1,000 towards that study. We received their approval that they're going to go ahead and do that for us, as well as we've applied. The county is applying for the Idaho GEM grant to help fund that as well.
Okay, thank you, Amy. Okay. It seems early, but it's creeping upon us, and we need a motion tonight to set our annual budget hearing. And in calendaring ahead, we've selected August the 15th, 2013 for that budget hearing. And so we need to set that tonight. So we need a motion to set that budget hearing.
I'll move that we set the budget hearing date for August 15th, 2013.
I'll second it.
Okay, did you, Dan and Mike? Okay.
Seems like I'm always waiting.
Okay, any discussion on that motion?
A lot of water under the bridge.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you. Got a request from former council member Mr. Lloyd. It's good to see his face back in attendance today or this evening. So he's asked to talk about a few things. So Griff, why don't you come up and present what you've got for us? Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here. As I sat around here, I get the feeling that I should attend these more. And I will be in the budget hearing thing after you hear what I have to say, so I'll set that for August. And I appreciate you holding your tempers. So far.
So far.
We'll wait to hear what you have to say, Griff.
Okay. First of all, I'd like to make a little pitch for some money for the Senior Citizen Center. I know that, well, from what I heard, the city's in good shape. There's plenty of money.
You weren't listening very close.
That's what I heard.
We're in better shape. But
anyway,
go ahead.
in the years past, the city has helped us some. And we would hope that we could talk into
How much was that help in the past in the city when they were doing that?
$6,000. And due to things beyond our control with Agency on the Aging, it looks like that we're going to suffer some cutbacks in our funding from CCOG. And that being said, our building has fallen down. And not falling down, but we're experiencing the same thing with all buildings. We're nearing 20 years in that building, and we're having freezer problems, we're having electrical problems, we're having all sorts of just normal wear and tear things. So it's costing us money. Our Meals on Wheels program is really costing us money, but a lot of that is why we're in existence at the center, is to provide meals for those who can't get out to get there, or to get meals anywhere else. But fuel costs are up, maintenance costs are up, so it's costing us money. Our utilities are up. You know, as everybody knows, utility prices are going up all over the place. So I would just like to present a proposal that we maybe talk about it. But I'll be back when you set the budget hearing, just so you won't forget between now and then. I chose tonight because I wasn't sure this was going to transpire.
Well, we'll start our processes if our department heads will start putting their budgets together right away, and so you know how that works. We get all the requests, and then we start seeing what we can afford. So
Okay, now
each
the department could kick in a few bucks to senior citizens, because you're gonna be there one of these days. Comes around quicker than you think.
John's thinking, oh, it better be a long time, huh, John?
And then you'll look back to this night and say, where has the time gone? It will hit you.
I already feel too old.
I don't blame you for what you've been off.
Aged tremendously, huh?
Yeah. And the other thing is, I want to talk about Parks and Rec. I want to just, get behind them. I've been behind them for a long time. I wasn't in the beginning, but I have grown to appreciate Parks and Rec. And we talk about tourism and the value of tourism a lot over the years. And tourism in Montpelier, not the county per se, but in Montpelier, a lot of our tourism dollars comes from the programs that Parks and Rec put on. And it's important that we support them. I really would like to see, I can't think of her name, it was right there, Lisa James, be a full-time employee. She has enough to do. She puts in enough time in the summer to take the winter off. That's my thing, because I've seen what she does. And we've talked about a resort tax since I was on the council before, and I think it's time that something be done and put that together so that those that are gaining from the Parks and Rec and the tourism monetarily will help support the city coffers to keep that program going. And I would like to see Adams Park, put together so that either that or Allinger Park, we got to decide who's in charge of it. Because every time something happens, everybody says, well, I'm not in charge of it, somebody else is. So we need to decide who's in charge of Allinger Park or else get shed of it, one or the other. And that's just, so maybe my temper's the one that's getting a little. But anyway, I just appreciate this opportunity. And I think maybe that it would be good for me to come back and pay attention. Because if you don't come to city council, you don't know what's going on. And I appreciate those that are here in attendance tonight.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
Okay. I'll run through my list here real quick. Our Chief of Police, Russ Roper, why don't you go ahead and make that announcement about Blake? I think that's exciting, so.
Lieutenant Wells has been accepted into the FBI Command College. So he will join about 60 other officers from Utah, Wyoming, Idaho, and Montana at a class that's put on by the FBI. They bring top rate instructors, and he'll be gone for a week. And I've been to the class, and it was one of the best classes I've ever been to. I'm excited for Blake's opportunity to do that.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, you'll see in next week's newspaper an article about the Idaho Food Bank and the food drop that Mr. Lyko, if you all remember, down on 8th Street across from Jensen's, did that food drop and benefited a lot of families in our community for some time. He left the community, and when he left the community, we lost the food drop because nobody stepped up to the plate. We've been working with several people trying to get that going again, and we received notification this week that we will have the food drop again, and that will start a week from tomorrow. I think that's the 28th. The 28th, and that is going to be out to the All Red Center at the fairground. It's a heated building, and that's where they'll put the boxes together. Their first week, they're going to bring in, was it 20,000 pounds, patients? 20,000 pounds of food, and they want us to take care of Bear Lake County. There's some people here that really need that help in their lives, and so they will be bringing that food in. Any of you, or if you know anybody that would like to volunteer, we've got one person that helped Emo Lyko all those years out that kind of knew how to put things together, and he and I are getting together in the morning, and but we need a bunch of volunteers to put the boxes together, because the food comes in kind of, you know, a pallet of potatoes or a pallet of tomato soup or whatever, and they divide those up and put them in the boxes for the recipients. So anyway, that will be starting up, and just wanted to inform you of that. I don't know how many of you have been following the personal property tax. We certainly have been making a lot of noise about that for us for a long time. The state legislature, I'm not sure what the Senate did today, but the House overwhelmingly passed some personal property tax relief that was proposed by the Association of Idaho Counties, which the Association of Idaho Cities and the Association of Idaho School Boards supported that proposal, and that would basically bring property tax relief to about 90% of the people, and it will cost cities, counties, school districts $20 million, but there's money in this year's budget. I want to emphasize this year's budget to cover that loss of revenue for the next year. What happens beyond then, we're worried about. But anyway, at least we didn't take the big financial hit. So anyway, wanted to report on that. Our after-school program, we applied, as you know, Amy applied with the school district for our after-school program for AJ winners and the middle school. In anticipation, our youth center that was upstairs here, where the pool table and the foosball and video games and all of those things were upstairs, they just weren't being used at all anymore. And so this past week, our city crew, John brought the guys in, and when we got to the school, there were some school kids, and we hauled that equipment over to the middle school, and they're going to be using that for a rewards program. Those people that donated those games and those the pool table and so forth, they have consented to go ahead and let those things be used over at the middle school. So anyway, this big room up here now is kind of empty, and there's some fixing up that needs to be done there, and our city crew will start, as they've got a little time, to go in and repair some ceilings. We haven't had any leakage on the roof this year, so our membrane that we put on last year has worked well, and so that's good news. We're not getting any leakage up there anymore, so we'll go ahead and get that room ready up there so we can have meetings up there in a more spacious environment. So anyway, wanted to report on that. The retreat, Mr. Packham could not meet with us on the 22nd, and I am gone next week to Florida, and there's a strange game being played down there this time of year with a ball about that size that I'll be watching a few spring training games and spoiling grandchildren. So anyway, sometime in April, I hope we can get our schedules together. I didn't realize how tough this was going to be, but anyway, we won't be meeting for a retreat on the 22nd. I think it was last week, John and Amy, correct me if I'm wrong, but we had USDA in on the funding for our sewer project, low interest money, and they came in and reviewed documents, and once again, just like with DEQ the month before, I am just, every time I meet with agencies and people from out of here, I am so impressed with what our local people do. From the engineer that we've retained to our city crew and Amy and Leslie and everybody that's involved in how this process goes forward. We will be prepared to do the sewer project, and we're going to have a lot of assistance so it's done right and so that the money's handled properly. And anyway, it was just a super good meeting.
My number's 540.
Our city employees are a dedicated bunch, and I appreciate all that they do. I don't know how many of you have tried to go online to the city's website lately. I'll probably get this wrong, montpelier.gov. How did I do? Okay, thank you. I see heads going like this. So there's just a few of those little things that are bouncing around in this old mine. But anyway, Russ, our police chief, with the other department heads, we've been working on this, and it's getting better and better and better all the time. Pretty soon we'll have everybody linked up. Appreciate our Public Works Department, and John has done some phenomenal work on their link, and it is good looking, and it's up to date, and it's modern looking, and John, thank you for your work there. So anyway, wanted to mention that.
Looks good.
And then in our department head meetings, we meet monthly, as all the council members know, in department head meetings, and I love this kind of stuff, and by darn, I didn't know how it would go down, but when you can, everybody's excited about it. John was to some training on water certification at our last department head meeting, and he couldn't be there, and he said to me, I'm sad, I'm missing this department head meeting. And I think I told you before, but Darren Dransfield is coming in from the hospital, and he's teaching Covey's 7 Habits of Successful People to our department head meetings. And last week it was on time management and how we can manage our time better, and it was absolutely super, and everybody's enjoying it, and it's really going well. And as we implement these things personally in our own personal lives and in the operation of the city, I can only see that good things will come from the principles that are being taught. Darren is not costing us a dime. The administrator of the hospital has let him come and share that with us, which we appreciate. So anyway, that's all.
It's barelakebuzz.com, right?
That's all I have.
Yeah,
So
right.
with that, Marty, do you have anything? Okay. Did you get a report on the basketball tournament? I happened to go watch a few games. It was amazing.
No, I've been out of town, so.
Yeah. Yeah, you've been way busy. Anyway, they had a girls' basketball tournament here last weekend, and I hope I'm not.
First place, both the 4th and 5th grade, I believe.
Yeah.
First place.
But I think we had a total of like 14. Janelle, help us out. You were there. Was there 14 teams? Or 12 teams. Okay. Anyways, talking to some people from Pocatello who really got friendly with the girls from Bear Lake because they played each other so much. Because they were close, good games. But anyway, the teams from Pocatello, they stayed in our motels, they ate in our restaurants, they enjoyed our town. Some people from Randolph, they had a good little team too. I'm not going to talk about the level of play, but I was impressed with the level of play. But the team from Randolph, they didn't all stay here, but some of them did. And once again, as Griff mentioned, with Parks and Rec here in the middle of the winter, we had quite a little boost for our economy over the weekend. So anyway, Dan?
I don't have any.
Martin?
Housing Coalition kind of met the other day. They've had a really rough winter. They lost their president, and several members have been gone most of the winter. But they elected Ken Young to head that for the time being, and they're going to concentrate in the next little while on finding some new members that are interested in serving on that group. And then they're looking for houses for their annual painting thing, so that's kind of where they are. The Arts Council, I'm amazed at what they accomplished. They did melodrama and that last month. They're right now planning for the gallery night to be held at the high school on the 11th of April, and they're going to participate in that. And they're planning their classes that they have for the kids in early summer. They've got some really good ideas there. And then they've been asked to participate in the Butch Cassidy Days celebration this summer, and so they're busy making plans for that. And probably the melodrama again, I hope.
Maybe I say something.
But they're an energetic bunch, and they get a lot done.
Okay, thank you. Kurt?
No, looks like everything's under control. Just had one question though. We said August 15th for our budget hearing. That's not the same time as the fair, is it?
Wow.
Does anybody know?
Does anybody happen to know when the fair is this year?
Is it the week before maybe, hopefully?
All I know is it'll freeze that week if it's that week at fair.
Just was a question.
That's a good question.
Actually, it was this lady that thought of it.
Oh, Linda,
Yeah.
thank you. Wow, I don't know.
Just something to keep in mind.
We might have to change it.
Yeah, we might have to change it. We'll check on that, so. Okay, thank you, sir.
Thanks to Matt, everything seems to be under control. Matt and the guy back there.
Okay, Linda?
Don't have anything.
Mike?
Just a reminder, animals need help. Spay Giddy Dinner, April 6th, 3 to 6 at the Senior Citizen Center, correct? So, encourage everybody to support them. Animals need help. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Under action items, we have, I apologize for this, we had acceptance of the audit, and I don't think we're prepared to do that just yet. So we need a motion to table that.
I would move we table the audit acceptance until our next meeting.
Okay, did you get those, Heather? Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Oh, yes, we better vote on that. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Richard about broke. Okay, thank you.
What about that?
Executive
Do you think
session?
it'd do me any
Yeah, we
good
need a
to
motion
go
to
to
go into executive session.
those,
I
Mr.
so
Ma-
moved.
hybrid
Okay,
Mayor,
type
can I
irons?
make this
I do
statement
too.
before you go into the
sure.
Just wanted to let the council know that the fire department has a Facebook account out there, and encourage you to go on Facebook and look at that. We've been busy putting that together, get in the social media type situation here, so just encourage you to go out and look at that and see what we did. When Judy wasn't here tonight, she came over to the fire department to our training meeting the other night. We were doing fire extinguisher training and had to light fire and everything, and she participated, and so I hope she's not sick because of that. So. But,
You're able,
anyway,
you'd be able to give
those,
some of those?
you know, we're gonna try to keep that Facebook
What's the best,
account up and current, so
They make a good
that
set of hybrids.
citizens of the community have an opportunity to see that.
I think
And I don't know
they
if
take
you
a
can
little
link
bit
that
less
to
off my
your
back, don't
your
you?
city
Yeah, and
internet
then get
thing or not.
swing it more.
I think
Your
we
arms
can.
across the
John's
wall.
nodding.
Generate more
And I'm not
speed.
up on social media.
I'm
so
excited to try something.
I just barely
Yeah.
can text.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now Linda has moved, that we go into executive session. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Yeah, you can get it.
Oh, that's right, you gotta read that whole thing, don't you?
Okay. Executive session, Idaho Code 67-2345, subsection F, to communicate with legal counsel for the public agency to discuss the legal ramifications of and legal options for pending litigation or controversies not yet being litigated, but imminently likely to be litigated. The mere presence of legal counsel at an executive session does not satisfy this requirement.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded, word discussion. Okay, we'll proceed to vote. Mr. Pugmire?
Yes.
Mrs. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Sparks?
Yes.
Mr. Farmer?
Yes.
Mr. Phelps? And Mr. Fisher? Okay, thank you very much.
Should all be the same.